Hello and welcome to the Work for Change podcast. It's your host, Jean.
Your host.
Yeah, your host too.
And it's your hostess with the mostest, John. Thank you for...
that badonkadonk, you know?
Yeah. I don't know what episode number this is, but it's fine.
It's like 83 or
something
4
like
or something. It's somewhere in the 80s for
but
sure.
welcome back to the Work for Change podcast, you guys. This is the first broadcast, so just me and my brother are here. And we're excited to have you guys here.
Since we... First broadcast since
since the 2-week break that, really is not that much of a of a break. But
yeah, some people take the same amount of breaks on accident.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so we had to tell ourselves to take 2 weeks off. It was good. But a lot of stuff has happened that we kind of I almost feel like we have to talk about it.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
Yep. But before we get there,
Yeah.
our gym opened up a week ago. Right?
Yeah.
About a week and a half ago.
No, last Friday.
Yeah.
It's Monday when we're recording this.
Yeah, so about 9 days ago, 8-10 days ago, something like that. How do you feel being back at the gym?
It's good. It's definitely I got so used to working out at home that I didn't know how it would feel. I was honestly almost nervous, you know?
Yeah, well,
But-
that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, because that's how I am.
You're an
with everything.
Enneagram 6. So.
Yeah. But I was it's such a nice feeling. It's something so small as doing my morning routine and listening to music as I'm driving to the gym. I did not realize how much I missed that.
Mm-hmm.
Because, it was my commute to the gym was step outside into the back patio, and that was it. And so it's been really nice. So I really, really enjoy it. And I got to a point where I was so used to the quarantined fitness that I was doing that I almost was maybe I wasn't thinking I won't go back to the gym, but maybe I'll do not very much gym workouts and do a lot of at home. I still think I'm going to do at home stuff, but I think that I really didn't realize how much I missed the gym until I did my first workout back. What about you? How have you been? Because I know you were struggling with working out.
Yeah, man, I was struggling. I was super struggling. It's no surprise. I talked about it probably every freaking episode. The last month into quarantine, I was just over it. I was over working out at home. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, going outside. The time, it doesn't make sense to work out at 6 a.m. when you're on a back patio and your neighbors are
you kind of can't do
are literally on top of you. And so it's couldn't do it at my normal time, which meant I would do it at the next time that worked, which was 4 p.m. after I got off work.
Middle of the day.
Yeah.
Heat.
When
the sun is right above.
Yeah, and it's our back patio is all cement, and the walls are cement, and the cement, and it's the back patio connects to the parking lot, and that's black. It was just so hot back there that it was just a completely unenjoyable experience at 4, anywhere 4 to 5, and so. And then by 7, it's I'm already winding down, working out then. So, long story short, I just got over it, man. I was sick of it. I was tired of it. So the last month I really struggled. So getting back to and I missed the routine of waking up, listening to music, going to I already knew that was an important part that I was missing. Trying to psych yourself out, going to whatever. So coming back has been nice. I went the first day, Friday, and the next time I went was Monday, and the next time I went was Friday. So and then now it's Monday again. So I'm on a 2-day win streak right now.
Tell us about this bet that you have with Sam.
Yeah. So the reason I made this bet was let's go back into time.
Okay.
When I first got into working out, it was about 5 years ago. And the reason why I was, very inconsistent. I was going to Choose or Crunch or whatever. And I was just trying to find the bodybuilding split that worked for me. I was trying to make a somewhat routine. I was working at Starbucks, so I was starting at 3:30 in the morning and then trying to go afterwards. And then I'd be well, I'm really tired today, but I'll get more sleep and I'll go later or I'll go blah, blah. And I would always push it off, and I'd be I'm going to go 4 times this week, and then I would only do 3, and I'm crap. Or I would, whatever that routine would need to be. Eventually, I had to get to the point where I was you know what? I'm just going to go every day. I'm going to go 6 days a week. outside of Sunday. I'm going to go every day of the week.
Was that when you were doing CrossFit? Is that
No.
Okay, so
No,
that was
I wasn't even doing
CrossFit.
CrossFit yet.
Okay.
I was just, this was the beginning of my weight loss. I decided I wanted to lose weight. The way you do that naturally is by bicep curls. That's what I believe.
It's true.
And so, it still blows my mind how the epitome of health in our mind is doing movements like bicep curls.
Mm-hmm.
Like knowing so much more about it's your heart, and you're like that. That's really important. But I didn't know that then. I believed.
I would say that's shifting now. But when you first started and when I first started, yes, I would agree.
Yeah.
That was a big thing for
Yeah.
sure.
So I just decided I needed to go 6 days a week. That was the only way it was going to happen because there's no, I'll just shift it to tomorrow. And then, there is none of that. You have to go. Mm-hmm. It's a new day. You go to the gym. You have to do that. And so I found myself back into this routine where I was kind of making excuses, not going. I got really sick off of pizza this week, which is a completely different story that we will not get into. But
It's a good one, though.
but it was just like, you know what? I got to do this again. Like, I got to treat myself like a beginner again. Mm-hmm. And what did I do in the beginning? I went every single day. So I told myself that I'm going to go to the gym every single day this week. Typically, I take Thursdays off back in the day when I was more consistent.
Back in the day.
But I'm not even going to do that. I'm going to work through on Thursday, Monday through Saturday. And if I miss a day, at least if I miss Monday through Friday, Saturday's kind of weird because the gym has different hours, etc. But if I miss a 6:45 a.m. class Monday through Friday, I have to show up the next day in a pair of Sam's leggings and sports bra. Mm-hmm. I don't have to work out in the sports bra, but I have to work out in the leggings.
She just doesn't want you to break her sports bra as
well. No, she says she's got some she doesn't care about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I just don't want to. I don't want to do that.
Why not?
Because
you run outside that day.
We already ran.
Yeah, it's true.
Constantly varied.
So it's Monday, so you have 4 more days to do
I have to do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Do you think you can do it?
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to show up in a sports bra and leggings, so...
You just show up anyways. You didn't miss a day. Oh, I thought I did. I swear I did. Yesterday, I thought I missed it. I forgot.
Hey, man. You know what? I wouldn't be the first Glaude bro to show up to the gym wearing a sports bra and leggings.
It's functional, man.
And a wig.
I don't know about the wig. I don't know why you'd wear a wig.
You wore a wig.
Yeah, I did. It was Halloween. It was great. It was a good costume.
You were an influencer.
Yeah, I was a fitness influencer. I had my fit tee with me. And it's funny that you bring up the 6 days a week thing because that's kind of exactly what I did when I first started. What did I tell you to do that?
I will neither confirm nor deny.
I think I remember us having a conversation. No,
I'm
not trying to take.
I'm not gonna say that you're some fitness guru or anything, but you were the one who said just go every day.
I'm not trying to take I'm not trying to be like, oh, it was my idea, but I remember when I first started, I would do I'll go 3 days a week, but I never set the days of when I was gonna go.
Yeah. So
then I'd be like, oh, I missed today. Oh, I missed the next day. It's okay. There's still 4 days left in the week. And then I would not go. Yeah. Or I'd go once a week.
I've learned that there's 2 different types of people, and this is something I'm working through. There are 2 different types of people. There are disciplined people and there are non-disciplined people.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Who are you?
Not disciplined. But so one of my best friends, Josh Simmons, is a disciplined person. Mm-hmm. If he decides, all right, it's time to go to the gym, the only time I can go is 4 a.m. All right, I'm going to the gym every day at 4 a.m. And he made the decision, and now he goes. And there's no...
He's doing that right now?
I don't know. I mean, not right now, but this was when I first started working out, and he'd be my workout buddy.
Yeah, he'd
be like, this is when I go.
Yeah, I remember that back in the day.
Yeah, and so it was just this was... But in anything in life, that's how he is. He's like, oh, well, I said I was going to do this, so I'm going to do it. Oh, that's going to be a 16-hour day for you. Well, it's what I said I was going to do.
Yeah.
Very disciplined. Me, I don't mind dropping plans at the drop of a hat. Oh, nah, I'm tired.
I have a cramp.
Yeah, or whatever. Literally, oh, I had too much pizza.
You can't keep dropping that story and not tell it.
Yeah, maybe I'll tell it.
I'm not going to make you tell it because I know you said you didn't want to, but if you're not going to tell it, stop bringing it up because it's not fair.
I know, right? If this video gets 500 likes, and I'm just kidding. So there are two different types of people. One who's disciplined, the other person who's not disciplined. I'm in that not disciplined stage, or phase or whatever. So what I have to do is I have to create like when you go bowling and they have the bumpers.
Yeah.
I need bumpers because that means I can just shoot it mad left and it's gonna bump, and then eventually it's gonna knock some pens over.
Yeah.
I am not a straight down the way. I'm not. So by giving myself bumpers, it's things that are non-comparables. Like, well, I'm going to go every single day. Like, it's not because I'm disciplined, but because I know if I go to the gym every single day, I can be a little bit more relaxed in other areas of my life. Like, I don't need to have dialed on nutrition or blah, blah, blah. Like, it gives me a little bit more freedom. Mm-hmm. So it's not that I'm a disciplined person. It's that I just need to do it in order to be a little bit more free, if that makes sense. I'm still working through it.
Yeah, I would say, I don't know, I would say that I'm pretty disciplined in certain things, but then other things I'm not. So for me, it's less of like, this is the type of person I am, and it's like, what are we talking about? And then I'll tell you if I'm disciplined or not in that thing.
Yeah.
When it comes to like fitness and stuff, I don't know, I don't struggle with discipline because there's no struggle, you know? Like, I enjoy it. So it's like, I'm going to do it. Even if that means I'm going to do burpees in the living room.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. I like suffering with people. That's another big one. Mm-hmm. Like today at the gym, like being able to push it because I had someone there who was like pushing me the entire time. Like I love that.
Yeah.
I do like that.
Having that social, like, I don't think social contract is the right word, but like having that like motivation from other people that they might not even care that whatever you're doing, but in your head you can fake that they care.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like will push you harder.
Well, it's also nice to yell when it's nice when you're running and they go, I'm right behind you. You're like, crap.
Yeah.
And then that is an actual, I am pushing you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ricardo.
That's who I figured it was.
Yeah. He got strong.
Yeah, he
Man,
did.
he got a barbell and weights at home. He's like beating me in all these lifts right now.
Yeah, and we had 50-pound dumbbells.
Yeah, which I could have, but that wasn't the reason. The reason was I didn't do anything.
You didn't do anything.
I don't say I didn't do anything. I worked out an average. I probably worked out an average between all the 3 months.
Yeah,
3 times a week.
Yeah.
The beginning was like better, and then I kind of trailed off at the end.
Trailed.
But it like I think the average was 3 times a week.
Yeah.
That time.
I was doing pretty good. I was doing 2 days for a long time. Then I got injured, and then I kind of did once per day, and then a long walk was kind of
Yeah.
And I kind of like that actually. I think that's what I'm gonna do until like because 24 technically opened today, I think, but they have so many rules, and I'm just like, and it's like an hour long that you can only work out,
Yeah.
and so I'm just like, I'll wait until it opens more before I go back.
Are you still paying?
I think so. I don't know. I feel kind of. I continued to pay my gym memberships just because, like, I mean, here at Darkside, they gave us equipment to use, so that was an easy one. But then, like, I don't know. I didn't. I understand that 24-Hour Fitness is a huge corporation, but still, like, I don't know. I didn't feel like I needed to pull it, and so I kind of was just, I'll keep my membership there.
Well, they are filing bankruptcy, so.
Yeah, they're filing bankruptcy, but from what I read a tweet from theirs, and they were saying that it's not like they filed. I'm gonna try and find it, but it's not like they filed bankruptcy and then they're gonna disappear. It's like they did it on purpose to.
Yeah, there's a couple different types of bankruptcy.
Yeah, Chapter 11, I think, is what they did.
Yeah, you can't, like The Office, you can't just walk into a room and yell bankruptcy, unfortunately.
Yeah, so this is
I declare bankruptcy!
This is what they said. So it says, we're here for the long run, and it says 24-Hour Fitness is dedicated to health and wellness of our members, our team members, and the communities we serve. We've been for more than 35 years. With the dramatic impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the economy and the fitness industry, we are announcing a financial restructuring through a voluntary Chapter 11 filing that we expect will make a stronger company. We'll continue reopening clubs with a focus on uninterrupted service to our members, and we'll be able to reinvest in existing clubs, open new clubs, and offer new innovations to better serve you long into the future. For more information on the filing, blah, blah. So basically they're saying, like, we're filing Chapter 11, but we're not leaving. I don't know how all that stuff works, but I know that you can file for bankruptcy and not dissolve the company.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so since we haven't had a bro talk in a while, bro chat, a Glaude chat, if you will, or bro whatever.
Glaudecast.
There we go. A lot has happened in the CrossFit world, so I wanted to bring up being back at CrossFit because it's like, yay, the gym's open again, but it's just like bittersweet feeling.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if it's obvious, but it's kind of more somber.
There's like just no one knows like what this physical location we're sitting in right now will look like in a year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, will CrossFit exist? Will there's already something called the Functional Fitness Alliance or something? I don't remember. Union?
FFU.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That they're trying to like dominate or capitalize on this. Like, there's a lot of places that are trying to like capitalize on this thing. But before we get too far, do you want to kind of explain what's kind of been going on the past couple of weeks since
I'll do my best. So obviously we had the podcast with Hudson where we kind of talked about all the stuff that Greg Glassman did as far as like the whole, I mean, it was more like racially kind of inclined things that he did wrong.
Yeah.
I guess you could say wrong or whatever you want to call it. But all of that stuff kind of came out a few weeks ago. And obviously there was a huge exodus of a lot of gyms. They decided to leave, disaffiliate.
So I think that the social media number went up to like 1,400. The actual numbers so far is like 400.
Yeah.
Who have actually like on paper unaffiliated.
Yeah. I'm assuming a lot of gyms are probably like
just waiting it out.
Yeah, they said they're going to de-affiliate, but they're just like basically letting their contract end.
Yeah.
And then they're not going to and basically give CrossFit more money.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's kind of what's going on. But so that all happened and, you know, it seemed like a huge deal and it was like, okay, this is it. You know, this is the big scandal. But it seems like that's not the case at all. So Andy Stump, who I don't know I don't know him at all, but I don't know him that well in any capacity as far as like following him or know much about him before this, which, I mean, he seems like a pretty cool guy, so maybe I've been missing out. But he released a podcast on his podcast is called Cleared Hot, so if you guys want to check it out, I'm sure we'll have it in the show notes or you can just type in Cleared Hot or whatever. But in this podcast, so Andy used to work for CrossFit. He worked really close with Greg Glassman. He was his pilot, I guess, at some point. Yeah. And this guy is like
due to his like military training.
Yeah, he's a former I think he has a Purple Heart. He is as far as like people that know him, he's very trustworthy and he is, you know, obviously shown that he is a trustworthy person. Okay. So the reason I'm saying all that is because he released a podcast where he basically, and all this is alleged, you know, we're not trying to get sued, but he says that Greg Glassman has been, the whole time he worked for CrossFit, because he worked for CrossFit for a number of years, he hasn't been there for a number of years, but the whole time he was there, Greg Glassman was very, very sexist, and he was just really, really nasty towards women, and like all women, basically.
Yeah.
And he tells a couple stories.
He keeps it very general.
Yeah.
But like he even says in the podcast, he's like, because CrossFit is sue happy.
Yeah.
And
everyone knows that.
Everyone knows
Litigious is the word everyone uses.
Yeah. Like they have some of the best lawyers in the game, on purpose.
Yeah.
And so basically what he says in the podcast is like a lot of people had to sign NDAs. He was given a non-disclosure agreement before he left, but decided not to sign it. And what they would do is they would have you sign an NDA and give you a couple $1,000 extra bonus for signing it. And he's like, no, I don't need the money. I'm okay.
I don't even think it was a couple. I think it was a substantial amount of money. That's why most people, I think, signed it probably.
Yeah. And so that's why you don't hear a lot of this stuff, because a lot of people just signed NDAs and silently went away or had a settlement or whatever. And so he's just kind of saying, I'm speaking in generalities because it's not my story to tell. But I promise you I could give you exact specifics if you wanted to bring me to court.
Yeah.
Like exact moments and conversations. And so he kind of like laid the gauntlet down of like, I dare you guys to look deeper into this because there's something that's going on that people aren't talking about, specifically surrounding Greg Glassman and sexual abuse,
misconduct.
So
I would honestly, like, I know it's probably not the best marketing for us, but like, I would honestly recommend listening to that podcast if you haven't heard it before you go any further in this. I really think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Like, I really do think that would be very helpful for you. If you are like, feel like you're lost, you might want to listen to that and then come back here. But so as of a few days ago, the New York Times released an article that it's titled, I believe it's titled, CrossFit owner Greg Glassman fostered sexist company culture, workers say. And so I think it's important, and again, we kind of brought this up in the podcast with Hudson, but yes, Greg Glassman is no longer the CEO of CrossFit, but he is still the 100% owner of CrossFit. Okay, so and for a long time, he wasn't the CEO and still made all of the CEO decisions, basically.
So yeah, for people who follow CrossFit, if you know, when CrossFit got rid of regionals, when they completely changed the way the games look, when he completely created a whole new season without a rule book, that was all predicated and dictated by Greg Glassman, and he was not the CEO.
Yeah.
So like that just shows how much power he had, even without the role of CEO, because he's the sole owner and no one can challenge him.
So the reason I said that is because whenever people talk about this topic, they're like, "Well, what do you guys want? Like, he's not the CEO anymore." It's like, okay, yes, he's not the CEO anymore, and he retired. I did that in quotes because what does that even mean if you're still the owner? Like, I don't think it means anything. But so he's still the owner of CrossFit. So the article goes on to say, so we're going to read the article, and we'll probably stop in between and kind of talk about some things. Is that cool with you?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so the article, again, starting from the top. CrossFit owner fostered sexist company culture, workers say.
And who posted this?
New York Times.
Okay.
And then we'll have this link in the show notes. Okay. The reason I said it like that is because Jean does that stuff. So it says, women report getting lewd assessments of their bodies, among other mistreatment from top male management. And this was by Catherine Roseman, and it was posted June 20th, 2020. So 3 days after this goes live, or before this podcast will go live, 2 days before I am reading all this stuff to you guys. Okay, so it goes on to say, when Greg Glassman resigned earlier this month as Chief Executive Officer of CrossFit Inc., extradited for comments about George Floyd's death on Twitter, and in a Zoom meeting, people who have worked there were surprised that his downfall was tied to accusations of racism. They had assumed that the reason would be routine and rampant sexual harassment. Interviews from 8 former employees and 4 CrossFit athletes, I wonder who the athletes are, with strong ties to the company reveal a management culture rife with overt and vulgar talk about women, their bodies, how much male employees, primarily Mr. Glassman, would like to have sex with them, and how lucky the women should feel to have his rabid interest. Ugh, reading this is just disgusting, but according to the dozen interviewed, Mr. Glassman, 63, has verbally demeaned women, pulled at their clothes to try and peek at their cleavage, and aimed his phone camera to snap photos of their breasts while they traveled with him for work, sometimes pressuring them to consider sharing hotel rooms or borrowed houses with him.
It's just like, this company makes a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
Just on affiliate fees. Just on that. Let alone all the CrossFit Level 1, let alone the game. Like, they make a lot of money.
Reebok and all that stuff too, yeah.
So, it's just weird that I can only imagine you're this female, you're going on a work trip with Greg, and he goes like, hey, probably to save some money, let's make sure we're in the same room at the hotel.
Yeah.
Or something like, you know what I mean? Like, while he's got a private jet that he's flying you in.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, so the stuff that, like, for me, just reading that right now, it's like, again, I'm not at all saying any of this is okay, like, by any stretch of the imagination. But, like, the first, like, verbally demeaned women, pulled at their clothes to try and peek at their cleavage, aimed his phone camera to snap. That's just stuff creepy old dudes do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Again, not okay at all. But then when it says then he would pressure them into considering hotel rooms or borrowed house. That is just disgusting. Like, that's not okay.
No.
Okay, so moving on. It says, through a company spokesman and spokeswoman, Mr. Glassman denied such conduct. So you'll see this through the whole article. Greg didn't say anything.
He didn't talk to them.
He didn't talk to them. So he had a spokesperson, basically. Has denied such conduct. The spokeswoman said Mr. Glassman has treated her only respectfully. She suggested that people speaking out against Mr. Glassman are doing so to lessen the worth of his company and then buy it from him. There is in the quotes, there is a collective effort to devalue the company and buy it for scraps, end quote, she said. Now, this is something that you'll see a lot of people kind of people that want to argue, which is fine. I think it's good to kind of hear both sides. Is that the reason anyone is speaking out right now is because it's part of a whole scheme, right?
Conspiracy.
A whole scheme of people trying to basically make this company worth less, in the eyes of everyone, and so then the person that ends up buying it can save a lot of money when they do, quote unquote, buy the company, because there's been all these scandals and now it's not worth anything, and so Greg has to sell it for way cheaper than he would have a month ago. So that's kind of that's the argument against it. The former employees say reporting the harassment was not an option. Mr. Glassman is the sole owner of CrossFit Inc., perhaps the most powerful female executive there, Kathy Glassman. The affiliate director is Mr. Glassman's sister, and they were reluctant to complain to her. There was no human resource manager until 2013. That manager left the company in January and has not been replaced. So could you imagine, like, the person that is sexually harassing you, the only person that you could talk to is their sister?
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
Man.
It's just, there are a lot of bad company policies going on.
Yeah, bad business practices.
Yeah.
It seems like. I mean, who am I to talk though? Really,
Yeah.
I don't have a huge company like that. But again, from my point of view, that doesn't seem like a great idea. And then it says a devoted community. Now headquartered in Scotts Valley, California, CrossFit was created in 2000. It is privately held and currently employs 72 people full-time, down from 137 2 years ago. A shift in the company's focus from competitive games to health initiatives and the pandemic have resulted in layoffs. Most departing workers receive severance only if they had signed non-disclosure agreements. So that's what you were talking about, right? So it's like, basically they said, we're not going to pay you any severance pay unless you sign an NDA. And if that was your job and you worked there full time and you kind of have to, And so a lot of people are like, why haven't more people spoken out? It's like, they can't.
Yeah.
They literally will, if they do.
They sign their name on the dotted line with the devil.
Yeah. And now I'm interested, after all of this is out now, because if you're just one person, they can go after you, But if you are, if there's like 50, 60 people all saying it, then it'd be kind of hard. I'm sure they could, but I'm sure a lot of people feel a lot more safe.
Yeah.
Okay. And it says, Dave Castro, a longtime deputy of Mr. Glassman's, who has taken over the company's chief executive, declined to speak for this article. So Dave Castro didn't speak at all, and he hasn't said anything really about any of the accusations.
No.
The spokespeople noted that the CrossFit Games, a professional competition introduced by the company in 2007, rewards men and women with equal prize money, and that the method encourages women to celebrate strength and fitness regardless of body type or weight. Even those critical of CrossFit's culture praised its rigorous exercise method, which is taught in thousands of mom-and-pop gyms around the country, like CrossFit Darkside, that have licensed the CrossFit trademark for some of its devotees. CrossFit is a near religion. Now, I think something that's interesting there that they say, and that I do believe is true, is that, they don't, it's not like, oh, women, you get a little bit less money or anything like that. It's always been very equal in that aspect.
Yeah. I mean, I think part of it is the fact that they're on the same competition floor.
Exactly.
I mean, like,
a lot of times they'll do the event together.
Yeah. And so it's like, I feel like there would be some, if they were both on the podium right there in the same competition floor, with one making less money than the other, I feel like that would, Like, it just almost makes sense. Like, yeah, of course they made the same amount of money. They did the same exact competition.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
There's no, like, women's CrossFit league.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be strange.
Yeah.
Okay, so in quotes, there is so much positive in the CrossFit community, in quotes, said one former employee who, like many others interviewed for this article, was granted anonymity. How do you say that?
Anonymity.
It's like anonymity. 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 I don't care, okay? She was anonymous because I'm embarrassed now. Because she feels...
I don't know if I said the word right. I just acted like I did and kept on going. I'm pretty sure it's anonymity.
Anonymity.
Yeah.
There we go. I just have to say it slow. Anonymity. Because she fears legal retribution from Mr. Glassman. In quotes, do you want to be the person who ruins people's hopes and dreams and even their business? CrossFit is not just about fitness. It becomes your friends, your family, your community. People create their entire lives around it, end quote. It
kind of sounds like the way like they talk about it, which again, not helping our case at all. But when you have like a cult and the pastor, ends up being some weird
psychopath.
Yeah, who wants everyone to drink punch so they can all die together. Like, that's what this kind of, I mean, like, it's not fitness. It becomes your friends, your family, your community. It's like, it becomes your everything, and your identity becomes this. And it's like, this is why, folks, you need to have an identity outside of, like, that is not based on other people's perceptions or, you have to find that identity in yourself first. Because if you're constantly seeking to other people for your identity, you're going to get caught into situations like this. So, nonetheless, that is...
Let him know, Jean.
I let him know sometimes.
Gotta let him know. And then it goes on to say, away from the local gyms where he is venerated... not really. But
I don't...
Where he is venerated through the picture of Though the picture of Mr. Glassman clouds quickly, there, quotes, there was a constant narrative about women, end quotes, the former corporate employee said. She described his using vulgarities frequently to refer to women, enumerating which he wanted to have sex with and which he wouldn't. He, quotes, was always descriptive in nature about it, end quotes, she said, bragging about sexual escapades. His attitude was so entwined with operations that the Wi-Fi password at a company office in San Diego used to be a sexist obscenity, according to 3 former employees. So the sexist obscenity, now this was published somewhere else, the actual words. So the word, the Wi-Fi password was wet pussy. Like, that's what you had to type in to use the Wi-Fi at a corporate office, and as you guys, it'll say later, but it was actually at his house as well. And so,
which is just wild. Like,
yeah.
That blows my mind. Like, imagine being like logging in somewhere and being like, oh yeah, what's the Wi-Fi? I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
Like, it's what?
Yeah.
Unless they, like, I can only imagine if it was like there was CrossFit HQ Wi-Fi and then CrossFit Guest, where they might have been different Wi-Fi passwords.
I hope so.
Because, like, I just can't imagine, like, I know the head trainer at the San Diego CrossFit office. Like, he taught my L1. And, like, just to know, like, you knew this was the password?
Yeah.
Dude, like, it just blows my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it almost seems like it's like a test, Like, if you're okay with it, they're like, oh, okay.
Like that meme where it's, like, the guy, like the double take?
Yeah.
Where it's just, like, that's kind of, like, it's just, like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. And I mean, just imagine being a woman being forced to type that in.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I think that is, like, that's a headline that's grabbing a lot of people's attention that I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. But it's like, that's just such a small part of this whole article. But it's like, it just shows that it was, again, like they said in the article, it permeated the whole culture of everything there.
Yeah.
Of the HQ at least. Okay. Moving on. Male employees would rank female professional CrossFit athletes according to how much the men wanted to have sex with them, according to an email from a current CrossFit employee to a former one that was reviewed by the New York Times. Mr. Glassman denies this, his spokeswoman said. One former male employee who requested anonymity because he didn't have... Sorry, it's hard. anonymity because he didn't have permission from his current employer to speak to the media, defended Mr. Glassman. I'm not into painting someone into an evil person just because he might have been misogynistic, he said. When I read that, I literally laughed. I was like, he doesn't even deny that he was.
Yeah.
He's just like, well, it's not like like, of course, no one's all bad or all good, but this is pretty crappy, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
It's
that's...
I don't agree in painting bad people to look evil, all right?
Yeah.
I'm not about that.
Like, of course, almost everyone has, a saving grace, or like something that's like, oh, but they have kids, or oh, but they do this, or oh, they have that. Like, everyone has something like that, No one's an evil mastermind from like the Marvel comics or something,
Unless you're the evil mastermind from Marvel Comics.
Yeah, but like other than that, like everyone is a person that has had that lives a lot of life and does a lot of things for people. I'm sure Greg has done a lot of good things for people.
Yeah.
But this is something that is terrible that has permeated this whole company, which is now affecting all of these gyms.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. That's. I just thought that was funny when I read that. But okay, so. And then it goes on to say, in 2012, Mr. Glassman agreed. This is a big deal. In 2012, Mr. Glassman agreed to pay financial settlement to Julie Kelly, a former employee whose lawyers threatened to file a sexual harassment lawsuit. According to 3 people in the CrossFit community with direct knowledge of the situation, among other incidents, they related during a company get-together at a bar. Mr. Glassman stood next to Miss Kelly and made a vulgar and obscene comment about her to another man. Mr. Glassman denies this, the spokeswoman said, and would not comment on the settlement.
It's just crazy, like, first of all, that all the spokesmen and women are speaking on behalf of Mr. Glassman, but it makes sense. He doesn't want to get...
I'd say that it's pretty normal for, like, big CEOs of companies.
But you had a settlement with this lady. Like, how are you going to just say, no, that didn't happen? Like, how are you going to deny it when there's, like, on the books a settlement that you wanted to resolve outside of court? There's something there.
Yeah. And then it goes on to say, also that year, Mr. Glassman was being driven to the airport, and this is where Andy comes in, by Andy Stumpf, a former Navy SEAL with 5 bronze star medals and a Purple Heart, who oversaw CrossFit Inc.'s partnership with Reebok. So obviously he was very high up, right? Like that is the partnership, right? Reebok and CrossFit, they're synonymous with each other. Obviously Reebok is trying to move away from that, but that is a fact, right? So he also worked as Mr. Glassman's pilot. And then in quotes, it says, "We were in the car and he was chuckling," said Mr. Stumpf in an interview. And then in quotes, it says, "I asked why he was in such a good mood. And he said, I finally finished up that BS with Julie. I had to pay that whore." Quotes, in quotes. And then it says, "Miss Kelly declined an interview request." And then it goes on to say, "A very elegant solution." In an interview with Lauren Genai, Mr. Glassman's ex-wife, who founded CrossFit with him, said that the employees and athletes were accurately describing the corporate atmosphere she witnessed before divorcing Mr. Glassman in 2013. She also confirmed that Mr. Glassman entered into a financial settlement with Miss Kelly to avoid a sexual harassment lawsuit. Miss Genai received $20 million from Mr. Glassman as part of their divorce settlement in exchange for her ownership of the company. So she must have owned like half of the company when they started, obviously. So in quotes, it says, "He's the father of my kids. I care about Greg and about CrossFit," Miss Genai said, in quotes, "but this should be addressed," end quote. Of the constant sexualized assessment of women, she said, 100% that happens every day, all day. Miss Genai said the vulgar Wi-Fi password was also used in the home she shared with Mr. Glassman and was in keeping with the office patios. Patois. Yeah, patois. Thanks. It looks like patios. They are nasty about women and they talk freely in front of them, and it does make my skin crawl, in quotes. She said, but not always. I think it does I think it does need to be said that both Greg and I and our friends have a raw sense of humor. There was a lot of that banter, and I don't find it offensive, but the difference was I was in a position of leadership, so my job didn't depend on how I responded to those remarks, end quote. Now, I think that that's really interesting that she says that because, yeah, she was obviously there. She heard it. It probably, I'm assuming it maybe made her feel a little uncomfortable, but, like, she probably didn't feel... Like, you don't feel helpless.
Yeah.
You know? Like, and that's, I think that's a big deal. When you feel like helpless, like if I say anything, I am going to be fired or I'm going to get in trouble, then you're just like, well, I won't say anything. Yeah. But if you were half owner at the time, you're like, no, you can't say that or whatever, you know, and you don't have to fear anything.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting. And then it goes on to say, Miss Janai said people were punished for challenging the culture. In quotes, if you didn't agree with Greg, you would be ostracized, especially if you were a female, she said. For me, the bigger problem than the language is the culture behind it. If you speak out, you're out. I've seen it firsthand over and over and over. The CrossFit spokeswoman said that Miss Janai was motivated to lessen the company's value so she could buy it. The spokesman forwarded an email sent by Miss Janai to Matt Holdsworth, CrossFit Inc.'s chief financial officer, on June 15th, less than a week after Mr. Glassman had resigned. And then it says in quotes, my interests and intentions are solely based on wanting to help with current issues CrossFit is facing. I do not want to see the company or brand suffer, Ms. Janai wrote. I'm looking at $50 million as an offer or thereabouts. Is this something CrossFit Inc. would consider? And then it says, on Saturday morning, Ms. Janai confirmed this. I was approached by an investment company who wants to back me in buying CrossFit, she said. In people's minds, including mine, it would be a very elegant solution. I don't want to see this thing go down the drain. I've talked to reporters because if I say nothing, I'm complicit. If I talk to people and don't tell the truth, I'm a liar. So again, all of this stuff. So whenever anyone, basically, what I'm reading is that what the spokespeople are saying is anyone that is speaking out is doing it for financial gain, basically, right? So it's like they're doing it because they want to sully the name, they want to make CrossFit look bad, and somehow get it bought by a big company or something, and they're somehow related to that. I think that's a kind of a weak argument. I can understand the person who I understand the most is this person, Miss Janai, his ex-wife, right? Because obviously there's going to be some marital stuff there, and like if she's like I can see that making sense to people, but as far as the other employees and stuff, like I'm just confused. Like, what is this big company reach out to all of them and say, okay, if you guys say this stuff, we'll. You know, I'm assuming like they're saying we'll somehow pay you or somehow give you a split of it. It just seems too much conspiracy to me.
Mm-hmm. I'll read from here.
Okay.
Because you've done a lot of reading. All right. A metric ton of inappropriate behavior. CrossFit's first workouts were held in a garage in Santa Cruz, California. The county sheriff's department was among Mr. Glassman's earliest clients. The method has been popular among the police and the military, including those assigned to elite teams like Green Berets and Navy SEALs, enhancing the fitness program's credibility. So this is what we talked about with Hudson, was saying that when we were like, why aren't they louder on issues of social injustice, racial injustice? Their first people were military and police. Those were their first like clients. And so it kind of makes sense that like, okay, maybe they're trying to, you know, it just put them in a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
At the beginning of 2020, there were more than 14,000 affiliate gyms, according to Justin Lofranco, founder of the Morning Chalk Up, a newsletter that covers the CrossFit community. Affiliated gyms pay CrossFit Inc. an annual fee of $3,000 or less. The company also draws revenue from the CrossFit Games and sponsorships, like one from Reebok, which was valued about $100 million over the last 10 years. By the time the deal with Reebok was struck in 2010, CrossFit Inc. already had a reputation. Lindsey Johnson, a CrossFit athlete hired by Reebok to train its executives, turned down an opportunity to do additional work for CrossFit. This is quotes from her, I had heard too many stories about too many things I didn't want to be a part of, Ms. Johnson said, including straight up bullying and sexual harassment of women. We've heard the story before, and it isn't a brand new situation. Someone at the top with a God complex. After Mr. Glassman's inflammatory tweet and comments about Mr. Floyd, Reebok announced that it would not renew the CrossFit deal. Morning Chalk Up reported that over 10,000 affiliates had plans to 1,200, sorry. More than 1,200 affiliates had plans to disassociate themselves from the CrossFit brand. Quotes, Greg thought Reebok was a terrible partner. He had been dying to get out of the contract, of the spokeswoman said. The spokesman added that only 450 affiliates have officially deactivated, some because of the pandemic.
The thing that's interesting, so with one, you're a much better reader than I am, but that's fine. So it says that something that's been known for a long time, if you've been like, if you like we are super nerds about all this stuff, is that Greg has not been a fan of Reebok for a while now.
Yeah, he regularly and that's again, it's not like this is the first time I've ever decided to speak bad on Greg.
Yeah.
I can't stand just his abrasiveness and the God complex that they were talking about. It just comes across as just arrogant and gross. And these are things that I've just kind of I hate that CrossFit has this this guy, but he for example, when he talks about his deal with Reebok, he says that the CEOs of Reebok are idiots. Mm-hmm. They're so dumb. They really are bringing the company to he just says stuff like this. It's you're in a partnership with these guys. Oh, that would just drive me crazy. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, and there's been so many other things that have happened in the past that, it's just been obvious that Greg isn't the happiest with Reebok, and it was obvious that he wasn't the happiest with where CrossFit was, and he really wanted to change that. And then obviously everyone knows about him, basically getting rid of the games, almost getting rid of the games, but getting rid of regionals and all of this stuff that it's these are the things, I understand him, seeing the games and being too many people are aspiring to that, and I don't want CrossFit to be the CrossFit Games, which I can understand that. I really can. But the fact of the matter is that so many people started doing CrossFit because of the CrossFit Games.
Yeah.
And it's sad to me that he sees that as almost like a failure. Because I really think it's been a huge help for CrossFit, because I know I wouldn't have started if you didn't show me the documentaries.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have started if I didn't see the documentaries.
Yeah, so
it was if I saw the YouTube videos first, but again, that was still the media team.
Yeah,
Okay, continuing. Last week, scrutiny of the company intensified after Mr. Stumpf, a speaker on leadership, devoted an entire episode of his podcast Cleared Hot to what he saw while working for CrossFit Inc. from 2010 to 2014. I cannot count the number of times that derogatory and specifically sexual comments were made about female staff members directly in my presence, Mr. Stumpf said, urging that Mr. Glassman and the company to release former employees from non-disclosure agreements. So here he's saying, just let them talk. Mm-hmm. If you're a good company, then you won't be afraid of your people talking about you, right? Mm-hmm. The CrossFit spokeswoman said that Mr. Glassman believes that Mr. Stumpf is working with his ex-wife to try to buy the company. So that's what it's this huge conspiracy.
Yeah.
Right? It's a huge conspiracy. Everyone's trying to talk bad about CrossFit so they can buy it. I want nothing.
Just so you guys know, we are putting in our offer in a week to buy CrossFit.
We did put in an offer
we
for
have $50.
Yeah, one Mr. Benjamin that we're hoping to get some change back from too.
Yeah. Also, we have a couple Bang Energies maybe that they'll take.
Yeah, we got a Mr. Benjamin if they can break it, hopefully, and a Bang. Just let us know if you want it, CrossFit.
Yeah, man.
I want nothing to do with CrossFit for the rest of my life, Mr. Stumpf said, and no amount of money and no position offered to me would change my position.
There you go.
It just blows, you think people are trying to, you think people just want to buy CrossFit and that's what they're talking bad about you? Come on, dude.
I mean, to an extent, I understand it because it is a huge company, and if you can, that is a normal thing that happens, make the brand depreciate so you can buy it at a cheaper price and then make it go more. But I don't think that this is what this is about. If you listen to the podcast that we're talking about from Andy Stumpf, if you can listen to that and think to yourself, yeah, he's doing this for financial gain, I can't relate.
Yeah,
I really can't relate.
Yeah. Continuing. The former employees interviewed by the Times said much of the mistreatment happened openly, which made them question their own reactions and wonder if they were being too sensitive. Very common, by the way. Some worried that speaking out would cost them their jobs.
I thought, well, and again, that goes into all of like the little things, like the whole wet pussy being the Wi-Fi password. All these little things to where you're just like, well, everyone else here is fine with it. It seems like, you know. So obviously it's a problem with me, and I just need to get over it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just get so used to it that it becomes normal for you, and then you become part of, you know, the problem, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because you don't even think anything of it because it's been, you know, whatever, say it's been 3 years you've been working there, that's how it's been for 3 years. You've gotten so used to it that now someone that new that comes in might feel the same way you did 3 years ago, but they see that you're fine with it, so now they're like, wait, is there something wrong with me? I just need to get over it. And then they get over it, you know what I mean? And it just perpetuates.
Yeah. There's a short on Disney Plus from Pixar. It's called Pearl.
Oh, it's so cute.
But it's kind of the same idea.
Yeah.
If you watch it, you know. If you didn't watch it, it's on Disney Plus. Okay. So there was a metric ton of inappropriate behavior, but even worse, there was a systematic problem. I'm just used to saying systemic right now. There was a systematic problem of undermining women, one former employee said. The systematic way they chip away at your self-confidence. I had never experienced anything like that. End quotes. CrossFit Inc. also sometimes flaunted a raunchy attitude towards women in its own promotion. In a podcast interview for the CrossFit Journal conducted in January 2018, Sivan Matosian, a longtime deputy of Mr. Glassman's, interviewed Stacy Tovar, an affiliate owner in Omaha, Nebraska, and popular retired professional CrossFit athlete. Mr. Matosian, whatever you say his last name, Sivan, asked her if she was sexually active with her husband and if she took birth control pills. He told her he preferred a bathing suit photo of her on her website to one showing her in an athletic competition. Your body is freakishly amazing, he said. Lamenting changes brought about by the Me Too movement, he said, you can't even ask your significant other for oral sex anymore. Do you remember listening? You were on the CrossFit podcast.
Yeah.
There were some pretty are you really talking about this?
Yeah.
It was uncomfortable to listen to.
It was uncomfortable. I think, especially that, that became the reputation. So I'm assuming, Stacy and stuff, she knew, again, this is all speculation, but, she had probably listened to some podcasts or at least knew that there was going to be a lot of quote-unquote hard questions or just really off-the-wall questions that you wouldn't really ask someone. But, yeah, I mean, there was no filter at all.
Yeah.
It was known for that.
And that was if you looked at the YouTube comments, it was always dude, he's such a creep.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And even I would kind of be like, you're just trying to ask questions no one will ask.
Well,
but it's
in my head, the way that it made sense to me was, okay, because Sivan made a lot of the documentaries, or at least he was always there.
He was always he was the behind the scenes
Yeah.
documentary. He would have these long hour long videos.
So in my head, I'm like, well, he obviously knows them really well and they're friends, so this is more normal. So that's why for me I was like, yeah, it's weird, but it's just friends talking. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's kind of what would go through my head when I listened to those podcasts back in the day.
Yeah. A fitness industry is different from an accounting firm, the CrossFit spokeswoman said regarding the podcast. Okay. That summer, the company hosted a CrossFit Health Conference in Madison, Wisconsin. A blown-up poster on social media and near the entrance to the conference featured an illustration of a doctor with money coming out of his white doctor's coat, surrounded by scantily dressed, buxom women, including one with dollar bills coming out of her short shorts as she grasped the doctor's crotch. Ms. Janai, who now runs Manifest, which provides testing kits and personal coaching to help people deal with chronic health issues, said that Mr. Glassman's putting Mr. Castro in charge will not solve CrossFit Inc.'s problems since Mr. Glassman retains ownership. He is a yes man, she said of Mr. Castro. I believe Dave being put in the position, there is no change. It is the status quo. The CrossFit spokeswoman said it was untrue that Mr. Glassman would still be calling the shots. He wants to retire and homeschool his kids, he said. End article. It just feels dirty.
Yeah.
It feels dirty all around. I don't know. I think that CrossFit can be saved.
Yeah.
It can't be saved with the old guard.
The thing is we don't want to watch CrossFit burn. I think that's important to say. Like,
Yeah.
I love CrossFit, and it's done a lot for me. Like, it really has completely shifted my view of fitness. And like, obviously I've been a huge like, proponent of it. And like, a lot of people honestly thought I was like, I've seen comments of people like, are you sponsored by CrossFit? And I'm like, I don't think that's even a thing. Like, I just love CrossFit, so I promoted it because I wanted people to do it. And I still want people to do it, you know? But again, I completely 100% understand not wanting to do it now because of this. And that sucks.
Yeah.
And that's like, as someone that loves, again, it's important to understand there is a difference between CrossFit the company and CrossFit the training methodology. Like, there's a big difference there. But when you say you do CrossFit, now people are going to think, wow, really?
Yeah.
And that sucks. Like, it's just sad. And again, like, I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, Greg needs to sell it. Like, he has to. But I think that in the long run, that would, if he really cares about CrossFit and wants it to succeed, that is the best option. Like, do I think he needs to give it up and like not making? No. You know, if you make your last little bit of money, you know, if he wants to retire at home and school his kids
into obscurity,
then do it. You
Yeah.
know, sell it for even 50 million. Like you were saying, like, there you go, man, $50 million. You're good for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And then CrossFit can go and do its thing. The
Yeah,
things
it's
that
like,
it
I think
needs
it's
to
like a
do.
reputation thing.
I get that.
I can imagine like selling a successful company for 50 million has got to be like people buy startups for 50 million. You know, like CNN and so I imagine it's kind of like selling it for 50 million is kind of like a big middle finger.
Yeah.
You know, like to the company. So I can totally see why he's like, nah, I ain't selling it for that much. You know, like for that little. But again, it's like, dude, if this is gonna live on, or if we just get FFU does not sound as fun as CrossFit does.
Yeah, I mean,
FFU.
FFU. Double FU.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just a weird, like, it's been weird, man. Like, it's like this thing that you love so much is getting dragged through the mud, but I completely understand why it's happening.
Yeah.
And I get that people that are probably listening to this podcast that maybe disagree with us are thinking we're doing the same thing. But if we didn't talk about this, it would be very hypocritical, I think.
Yeah.
With how much we talk about CrossFit, it would be like literally being the same as an ostrich sticking its head in the sand.
Yeah.
And just being like, well, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't hear anything, you know? And I'm curious of what your thoughts are with a lot of the athletes kind of resigning, like not competing at the games. Like, what do you feel about that?
I think that I think it's a good decision. Where is their most influence and like where do they have influence at the games?
Yeah.
So by declining to attend the games, they are saying I will not have my name a part of it. You know what I mean? Like that. When actors start talking on political issues, people are like, dude, just act. We don't care. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that you're stuck to one thing, but like CrossFit athletes are athletes. So if they were to just start like doing other things to try to raise awareness, I can see that would end up people like, dude, you're just an athlete, blah, blah. So what's the thing they can do? Well, they can withdraw and they can say that this is their form of protest or this is their way of dissenting. And so I think that as an athlete, like this is them using their platform. Now, there are other athletes who actually have a platform, whether it be Instagram, whether it be YouTube, whether it be, and like, so I think that withdrawing isn't the only thing you can do, which the ones who have withdrawn have been pretty vocal. And
Well, Noah Olsen was
Exactly.
I think he was one of the first, and he got second last year. So a lot of people are like, oh, it's just these athletes that aren't having no chance of winning. But it's like Noah Olsen was second place, and like,
yeah,
it was a pretty close race last year.
Yeah, Noah Olsen was second place. Katrin Davis-Daughter was a 2-time fittest on earth.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so it's like, yeah, there are definitely like, it's not just people who don't have a chance, but I think that this is them using the platform that they have, where they are doing what they can with what they have.
Yeah.
And I think I don't expect them to have these perfectly crafted speeches, you know, or whatever, because that's not what they're not politicians. They're not like, they're athletes, and what they're doing is they're doing what they can with what they have, and I appreciate it.
what do you think about the people saying that they're just virtue signaling?
I think that I don't give a crap about people calling out virtue signaling. Like, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, you know? Like, so do I think that you should not do something because you're afraid that some loser on the internet is going to call you out for doing something? No, I don't. Like, again, they have a platform and they're using their platform to speak about what they believe in. Like, I think virtue signaling is one of the, like, calling people out for virtue signaling.
Well, it's a new thing in this year.
It is. And it's and it's like it's just another thing to put yourself above someone else. Like, if, like, oh, like, I didn't do anything, but this person did something, so now I'm going to prove that I'm better than them by calling them out on something, even though I didn't do anything. It's like the whole, like, I don't know. It's just, it's the whole, I want to make myself feel better, so I'm going to call you out to make myself feel better because I feel, I don't know. I don't want to, you know what I'm trying to say.
I don't know what you're trying to say, but that's fine.
I've decided to not say it.
Yeah, I think that's probably for the best.
Yeah.
The whole virtue signaling thing is interesting to me because at what point does it stop being virtue signaling and does it start being like that's what you should do, right? Because it's like, so say if it was like Greg Glassman, it came out again. This could be kind of hairy. I'm not saying this is true at all, okay? I'm just saying this is hypothetical. But say it comes out that, okay, let's not even use CrossFit. Say it comes out the owner of a company is a serial rapist, serial killer. And then people start leaving the company. Like, at what point is like, are people like, why are you just virtue signaling, bro? It's like, well, no, I don't want to support a serial killer rapist guy.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? At what point does it become like bad enough to no longer be virtue signaling and just being the normal, like the right thing to do?
Yeah. And that's like, people will always justify in order to make themselves feel better. It will always happen forever. And I feel like virtue signaling is the people who aren't willing to do something, people who call people out for virtue signaling, they aren't willing to do something, but they don't want to feel bad about themselves, so they're going to start calling other people out. Like, it's the idea, like, there are two ways you can have the biggest tower in a city. You can A, build the biggest tower, or B, tear down all the towers bigger than you. And I feel like by calling people out for virtue signaling, it's a way of making yourself feel better by tearing everyone else down and realizing you're the only one left. So then you're like, oh, I have the tallest tower in the city. It's like, there are two ways to go about that, bud. You know? And so that's kind of like the better way of saying what I was feeling earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that it's interesting to me how people can hear all of this stuff and still, like, I can understand hearing all this stuff and then being like, well, you know, I maybe wouldn't make that decision. Maybe I'd still be able to like separate Greg and like understand, okay, he's not the CEO anymore. Like, maybe he'll be making money, but like he is not making any decisions, and being like, okay, so I'd still be able to compete at the games or whatever. Versus, I don't understand how you can go from that to being like anyone that is now no longer comfortable competing or helping Greg financially. Now they are virtue signaling and you're going to call them out for it. That's where I don't understand it. You know, I understand having the difference of opinions. And
have a difference of opinion, but to call someone out for acting upon their convictions. Yeah. You know, like that's just like, that's where it's just like, come on.
I think that there's, I don't know. I think that from my own opinion, seeing this article and seeing all of the other, I guess you could call it evidence or whatever, I think that these allegations are probably correct, allegedly. But it's interesting, like seeing people, like it's when you see people that were really close to them disassociating themselves and trying to further themselves from them, I think that says a lot. You know, like I don't want to call anyone's name out just because I don't, but like people that were really close to Greg, if you followed CrossFit, seeing them speak against him, I think that says a lot.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean it's big enough that I've like decided to separate myself from Greg. I mean, he's probably really feeling that.
Yeah, he's probably really. He's like, Jean left.
Jean?
Spelled like Jean. Can't believe it.
I can't believe that guy.
But yeah, I think that's it, man.
I think, guys, men out there, don't be a misogynist, okay?
Yeah, don't do that.
But like, if you are, you're just not evil. You're
Yeah.
just a misogynist.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
That was that joke.
Apparently,
off the
that's what that guy thinks.
weird.
But yeah,
Let us
what we've-
know. I mean, let us know. Send us DMs. Send us messages. Let us know what you think about all this. We'd love to hear.
Yeah, and again, like we're on the. I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but I'm on the team that I would love CrossFit to continue. I don't want to like completely get rid of it, but that is meaning Greg's gone.
Yeah, I'm on that team. I'm also on the wait and see.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I was very like abandon ship.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, let's wait and see. If nothing happens in a couple months, like, again, this is a big company. It's going to take some, like, you turn a big ship, it doesn't do a 180 right away. It's a very slow process. So let this ship turn. Let's see what happens. If in a couple months nothing has turned, nothing has changed, all right, I'm sorry. But there are some other gyms we can work out at. Or, unfortunately, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so we'll see how it goes. Thank you guys for listening.
All right, guys, have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.